So I don't know why we haven't done this, but I don't know if this was before the pandemic or right after the pandemic. We wanted to do the Wii Olympics.
Oh, we? Like
we.
we, okay.
Yeah. And one of the ideas was we were going to have someone run down the street with a torch, like the Olympics do, and then light the bonfire, like fire pit in the backyard as like the start of the Wii Olympics.
Oh, I like that. Why didn't we do that?
I know. I honestly think it was because the pandemic kicked off, and then it just kept getting pushed back because the pandemic wouldn't go away. Yeah. But I feel like we need to do that.
It would have been a good pandemic activity.
I know. A little but I think we were going to do like one floor of a house was going to be just Wii bowling, and then another floor, and then we're going to have groups and like teams. I feel like we need to do that.
That sounds like fun.
A little block party action.
For sure. Yep. We don't, our block, I can't do a block party. So that's, I think, our only option is to do house to house.
We can have the other block be a team, and we can be like against one another.
Yes, that sounds great. There's our
TV show.
Yes, awesome.
Oh my gosh. Well, let's get started then.
All right, sounds good. All right, guys, welcome back. Today we're going to actually break down the Detroit GP, and then we're going to do a preview of our absolute favorite race, Gateway. So hopefully we'll try and be nice, as nice as we can about it. So
we're not saying that the race itself is bad.
No, like the actual track is cool, but we'll get into it. We'll get into it. So
yeah, it's crazy to think that the drivers have a race literally 4 days after the Indy 500.
Like, they should have a break. I mean, the way that we felt like after it, I can't imagine what they're feeling.
No, I was consuming way too many electrolytes as a normal human being. And I'm like, what?
I don't know. They must have like IVs and like all that stuff that they B12 shots or something.
They have nutritionists and
yes,
all that fun stuff. But still, you could still catch a cold. You could still get sick. Your body has been destroyed over the 500, but we're back in the Motor City. We are still on the street circuit of Detroit. So for any past IndyCar fans, we used to race in Belle Isle. We're no longer racing in Belle Isle. We are in downtown Detroit. So Detroit is actually a race a lot of the drivers actually, at least in Belle Isle, have won. So we have Graham Rahal, Joseph Newgarden, we had Pato winning and Marcus Ericsson. And then we have on the new tracks, we also have Will Power, Alex Palou, and Scott Dixon. Scott Dixon does really well in Detroit, regardless of the actual, if it's in Belle Isle or the downtown area. Scott loves the Motor City, which I think is interesting.
That's pretty cool. Is Belle Isle, is it an oval or is that's a road?
It's still a street course, but it's just in a different part of Detroit. Okay. It's in like it's very similar to like the Canadian GP. Like it's kind of like, or the Australian GP, where it's kind of like in a city park type of look and feel. It's on the water, that kind of thing. Cool. But what's cool about this track is literally Canada. The entrance to get into Canada, the track actually drives over that at like entrance into Canada from Detroit, which is kind of funny because you're like, hey, I'm going to Canada, and you look up and you're like, oh, hello, IndyCar. So that's cool. But the track itself is a very short track. It's only like 1.5 miles.
Yeah, 1.645 miles. It's a 9-turn circuit. So they did 100 laps, totaling 164.5 miles. So, and a lot of drivers have a lot of feelings about this track.
Yeah. It reminds me of the Chicago NASCAR track. Yeah. Where it's slow.
Well, and especially if it's like in a downtown city like Detroit, I can't imagine I'm sure they fill potholes like they do in Chicago, which is asphalt and sprinkled with a little bit of bullshit in there. So I can't, the streets aren't clean. I mean, they have to have some sort of cleaning process, right?
Yeah, and they have resurfaced a good chunk of the street courses, but like you said, right, like they resurfaced Lakeshore Drive for the NASCAR race, and within one grueling winter, there's literally just gaping holes on the street. Yeah. And I've done it numerous times where I've driven through a pothole here in Chicago, and I've had to turn the radio off to be like, did I just see God? Right. Imagine doing that, going 125 miles an hour, right?
And not only that, they said that like they were just bouncing so much just because of like how uneven that road is. And I just can't imagine for 2 hours, just like your mind, your just brain is just jiggling in your skull.
Yeah, and your back hurts, and you just literally did the 500 4 days ago.
Right.
What's also unique about this track, it is a double-laned pit lane.
That was kind of cool to see.
So you have half and half, which is kind of cool. But we've never gone to the point where like there's only one entrance. So one of these races, one of these years, it's just going to be danger.
Right, 100%. Yeah, I'm surprised it hasn't happened already.
Yeah, I think just the way the yellows have fallen, it's just been a decent, like, there's a lot of different strategies on whether or not you have, the primary or alternate strategy. But I like the dual pit lane. IMSA also races this week with IndyCar. And so it's just a cool vibe. It is so interesting. So they have all of these parking garages along the double pit lane, and they actually put like viewing terraces on the top of the parking garages. So like you can just watch overhead. It's a very popular race. Like there's a lot of people that want to go to that race. So
well, sure, it's Detroit Motor City, right? Yeah. They have the background, so I'm sure there's a ton of race fans that go there. It's just
and it's the home of Roger Penske and Chevy. Mm-hmm. So which is hilarious because a Chevy hasn't won this race in a very long time. But we'll start the weekend off. So Indy Next also came back after their 500 hiatus, and as the Alex Palou show continues in IndyCar, Dennis Hauger is wiping the floor clean in Indy Next. He not only got pole, but he won the dang thing. So he has now won 5 out of the 6 races, nice. I believe. He's only lost 1 of the races in Indy Next. Cool. We're really starting to question, he's going to be in IndyCar next year. He's an Andretti driver. He's not going to, like, where is he going to go?
Yeah.
Because Louis Foster won the championship and now he's at RLL, but Dennis is kicking butt. I'll take a minute to also fangirl a little bit. So Juan Manuel Correa is also racing in Indy Next. And for those of you who don't know who JM is, he races under the U.S. flag as well. But he was racing in F3 and F2. And in his F2 career, one of the races, I forgot which one, his car stalled and someone drove into him going full throttle, and he lost his ability to walk.
Oh my God.
And he rebuilt himself emotionally and physically. He was racing when his legs weren't 100%, and he returned back to Formula 2 and last season, I believe, and did well. And now he is coaching the junior league, and then now has an Indy Next seat. And cool. He was on the podium this last race in Detroit. And that's so awesome. As a JM fan, seeing him literally go from not only learning how to race again, but learning how to walk again and living that life and getting back in a race car after all of that, it was just wonderful to see that. And his goal is to go race an IndyCar. So I would love to see JM on the IndyCar grid.
I'm always so like amazed when you see like hear drivers that they have like these devastating crashes that like changes their life forever. And then they like the first question when they wake up from a coma is, when can I get back in a car?
That's what Hinch did after he was Hinch kebabbed at the 500. He was like, when can I race again?
Yeah.
What? Yeah. So Indy Next is still a little Dennis Hauger, the Norwegian nightmare still. We'll see if he does well at Road America next week, but he conquered the streets of Detroit.
Awesome. Very cool. So we have who is on pole? Can you read that out loud and clear?
Colton Herta.
Yes.
Or as they called him, Polton.
I love it. Well, good for him. At least he got a little bit of a win. I think he needs something. He needs a little boost. He's just had, again, terrible luck. But unfortunately, well, he ended up in third. So it was okay, but not obviously where he wanted to be. But we still had an Andretti on pole, or on one, Kirkwood.
Yes.
Which is pretty exciting.
Which is crazy because if Kyle had a little moment in quali, which gave Colton the pole, we all knew Kyle now is champion, Checo Perez is the king of the streets. So there's only been 2 winners in IndyCar this season, and it's been Alex Palou and Kyle Kirkwood.
Yeah.
But Colton while he had a pretty chill race, there weren't a lot of mistakes. I just think Kyle had better pace.
Yeah.
But seeing this was a first All-American podium since Mid-Ohio in 2020.
Wow.
And that year it was Ryan Hunter-Reay, Alex Rossi, and Colton. So it was nice to see in Detroit, All-American podium.
Oh, we didn't mention who our second person was.
No.
I don't know. Do we even want to?
So Santino Ferrucci.
All right.
He played the gamble on strategy, and with the red flag and all, he maintained and still maintains his second place.
Yes.
Which is huge for AJ Foyt. I think for a team like Foyt, getting second is huge. Foyt had a pretty busy weekend as well. David Malukas took one for the team and crashed into Alex Palou, which gave him a DNF. I think that was Alex's first DNF since like 2022.
Wow. Yeah.
But
what happened with that? It was just an accidental bump.
Yeah.
I mean, those they're so narrow.
Yeah, he just bumped him, and then it took Alex into the wall, which kind of unfoiled Malukas's race. But Santino, he's going to get his win one of these days. He's always around this time in the season. This is when Santino becomes alive. So I'll give it to him. He was disqualified, though, for a technical infringement for being overweight. So
how does that happen when you're overweight?
So insert Monica maybe knows 2% of this. So you have the weight of the car, and then you have the weight of the driver. And with the weight of the driver, there is a little bit of room for like error, right? That's why they weigh them before and after, just to see that threshold. So there's probably something going on with Santino's weight, because the car was okay, from my understanding. I could be wrong, but in general, the car was like slightly overweight. Which drops him down from 10th in the championship to 14th, but he did not lose his second place. So Rossi was overweight at one point when he won at the Indy GP, I think, and he still kept the win but didn't keep the points.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, you get the trophy, but the points are really what matters.
Right. Exactly. And he got a fine, $25,000 as well, the team?
Which is a lot of money for a midfield team.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot of change. But it's going to be interesting to say and see, with everything that happened at the 500 with technical infringements, are we going to see, is this the new IndyCar where we're going to end a race and then hold our breath until Monday to see if someone gets disqualified?
Right? Like, is it just somebody who, like, are these new rules that happen, or like suddenly someone wants to enforce these rules?
I think it's they want to start enforcing them, or less gray, more black and white. And I think from a fan perspective, I think it's just consistency.
Yeah.
Right? Because you look at Callum Ilot's DQ, or I guess he wasn't DQ'd, but disqualification, put him in the back of the grid at the 500 for having his front wing just be a little bit low, or whatever it might be. He was put all the way in the back of the grid, lost the points, lost everything. But then Santino got to stay where he was, lost not all of the points, but a chunk of points. And it's like, we just want consistency.
Right. I agree.
And it's a spec series, so there should be consistencies. And while I know every team, and we learned about this when we went to the Dallara factory, all the teams are getting the same parts. They're just trying to figure out and have an advantage over everyone with the same parts. So I get that you're going to try to push the limit, but
it's almost like they're trying to modify things to see what they can get away with, and like they're not going to find this.
No, it's all fine line.
Yeah.
But after Gateway, if we start to see pre and post race, like breaking news, whatever it might be, then I think that's just going to be the new IndyCar.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But overall, Detroit was actually a very watched race. Normally after the 500, there is a slump with viewership, but it was actually, we broke over 1 million viewers.
That's amazing.
Which is
that's pretty cool.
Compared to last year, I think last year it was like, I think they got a 75% boost. It was like 600,000 viewers.
Yeah, that's wild.
The momentum from the 500 has stayed. We'll see what happens with Gateway. They moved Gateway to a primetime night slot. So we'll see if this Fox work is finally paying off. But it was nice seeing two Andretti's up there. It was crazy not seeing Alex Palou up there. But he's got a hefty championship lead still.
Yeah.
Even with the DNF.
Even with the DNF. So, yes, exactly. I think, wasn't it funny? Who was it? Was it Scott Dixon that told at the banquet after the 500 that he won an all-expense paid vacation for 6 weeks or something? I thought that was hilarious.
It's like, please take your loved ones and your family. We'll pay for it. Yeah. It's fine. Just please leave.
Just leave for 6 weeks.
Yeah. But the one thing Alex didn't do is he didn't break the 500 winners curse.
Yeah.
So no one who has won the 500 has done well at the next race. And I'm like, all right, so you're not Superman. You're not invincible.
Right.
You still, but imagine he won the damn thing. He probably partied his little tushy off.
Right. And he was flying all over the country from what I heard. He was in New York.
Interviews. It's that meme from Gaga. Bus, club, another club,
exactly.
another club. And so I could only imagine he's not getting a lot of sleep. He's probably not training and on the sim as much. So I'll give him that. But overall, Detroit is always carnage filled.
Yeah. Always filled with yellows.
So I think that's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
But is it a good race?
The drivers would say otherwise. Yeah.
Pato was quite spicy.
He was very upset. I mean, it sounded a little too like he was just having a temper tantrum. Like, what is his deal right now?
So that was McLaren's, like all the drivers, that was McLaren's worst showing in a very long time. Did you also see the beef between Scotty Mack and TK on Twitter?
No, I didn't see that.
So during the race, so Scotty by accident got into Nolan, which shunted Nolan, right? It happened. Scotty got a penalty for it. TK then proceeds to tweet something about it.
Like immediately?
While he's on the stand.
Oh my God.
Like imagine you're racing and you're just like on Twitter.
Wow.
And then Scotty said something back. And then he used his like, I think he's sponsored by Good Ranchers. So he said like, use hashtag got beef for 10% off. And then TK was like, well, I was looking for your team principal. Oh, wait. Insinuating about his team principal getting fired for Attenuator Gate.
Wow. Juicy.
It was spicy.
Right? Sounds like teenage girls that are going at it.
100%. That's 100%. One, why, Tony, why are you tweeting while you're working?
Right?
But I also give Tony a little bit of room. He's a driver who became a coach to becoming a director to now leading the team. He's still a driver and a shit talker at his core.
But wasn't Zach Brown was there too? So like your bossy boss was there. Like,
is this a ploy of spicy PR is good PR regardless?
Yeah, maybe.
Because it gives off very much NASCAR vibes.
Yeah, it does.
Like, duke it out in the pit lane. Use your fists, not your words. No, I'm just kidding. We don't condone violence.
We don't want that. We don't want that either. But like, yeah, it's I don't know. It's not very becoming. I'm not a fan.
And then you had Pato kind of just spewing anger and...
I feel like it's because he's not winning. Wow. And he's just like not doing well. So like what? You're just going to sound off just because you're not doing well? Well, figure it out, dude.
Yeah. I will give him the only thing I did agree with his little rant. So a lot of the turns they're going in like in first gear going like 40 miles an hour. There's no long straights. There's nothing really, like maybe add a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like when I watched the NASCAR race in Chicago, like at one point they were going like 60 miles an hour on Lakeshore Drive. And I was like, ooh, it's like a normal Wednesday afternoon, right?
Yeah, right.
Like
that's just normal 5 o'clock commute times.
Yeah. So I understand there might be a need to maybe alter the track a little bit to make it a little bit more like high speed. There can be low speed corners, maybe some high speed corners. I think there's room for it. They just signed an extension for another 3 years.
So they got to modify then something.
Yeah. So. But there were some winners that we've talked about outside of Alex Palou being shunted. Ganassi had a good showing. Scott had to take an engine penalty already. And Graham Rahal did. So they had to start from like pretty much in the midfield to the back, and Scott worked his way up. Kiffin Simpson had a best showing. And Marcus Armstrong. I know I talked a lot of smack last week. You got a strong result.
Good job.
Good job, my guy.
Now work on your people skills.
You're great in the race car. Work on your people skills. I think there was just a slight mishap on like a mistake that happened, but he probably could have been in the top 4. He was on the podium last year. I'll give him that. Okay. We talked a little bit about our biggest losers being McLaren, but let's talk about the biggest what the fuck moment.
Yeah.
So towards the end of the race, I think this was like with 15 laps to go, something like that. We're just watching, chilling. We're like, okay, Kyle's going to win this. And all of a sudden, we hear Townsend do his, whoa!
Yeah.
And we look and we see 2 cars. At the point it happened, I had no idea who. One hit the corner barrier and one just yeet down the escape route.
Yeah.
And it was Louis Foster and Fro. And then literally 3 seconds after we see that, the radio goes, I'm okay. I can't feel my leg. Oh my God. And
That's
we're
terrifying.
all like,
that crash looked pretty bad.
So apparently Dallara did a inspection. There was a failure on Louis Foster's car, on one of the suspension pieces, A-frames, I believe. This is engineer Monica. So apparently one of the bolts failed going in a high-speed straight, about to hit a braking zone.
So then, this can happen then in any car because they have all the same, right?
So, yep. So you have a heavier car with the hybrid. You have a teeth-chattering bumpy circuit. If he wouldn't have tapped Fro, that stopped some of that momentum. Mm-hmm. He would have hit that wall going 140 miles an hour.
Oh my God.
And that tire wall was like maybe 3 tire chunks in.
Right, that's not enough.
In there.
Yeah.
His entire car, the chassis that we saw, all of that's destroyed.
Yeah.
Fro's damage alone, they can savor the car, is around $250,000 just to fix it.
That's insane.
And it was really scary. Mm-hmm. Seeing a driver basically just Jesus take the wheel it. And thank God none of them, they all walked away.
Yeah.
Fro had a little bit of, he hit his knee on the steering wheel and his leg literally fell asleep because he probably hit it so hard.
He probably hit the nerve or whatever. Yeah, but still, like.
They were fine. What?
Yeah.
So it was.
So like, I know it was still, a Dallara failure, but that car probably still protected them a little bit.
Yeah. RLL had a lot of issues at the Detroit GP. At one point, I think during qualies or practice, one of the tire lug nuts got stuck on Graham's car and they had to use like a hammer to hammer it off.
Okay.
Callum Ilott
that seems safe.
Lost a wheel as well. It was just very concerning.
Yeah.
I think is the easiest way to say it.
Yeah. So I know, Dallara encouraged all the rest of their cars to look into that same spot and just make sure just to reinforce it, whatever. So, oops.
Yeah, it's when are we going to stop talking about the fucking hybrid?
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest question. We did not see the hybrid until mid-Ohio of last year. They did not know how the hybrid was going to react in Detroit. And with that type of bumpy circuit and that extra weight, this is not going to be the first time we're going to see this on a street course. Yeah. Like in St. Pete, where it's beautiful, sunny, they get no weather. Of course, the runways and all of that, the streets are going to be a little bit more like butter. Mm-hmm. You are racing like Toronto, Detroit. I'll be very interested to see what happens in Toronto.
Yeah. Just because of questionable weather. It kind of was rainy there too, no? Yeah. Especially when is Toronto? I don't even know.
Mid-July.
Okay.
But still, last year it did rain for a little bit in Detroit. Carnage. Surprised that more cars finished this year than last year.
Yeah. It was a nice day, though. It was pretty wet, like nice
It was
weather.
chilly, too.
It was colder.
Also, completely off topic. Andretti, drop the cold weather quarter zips. I would love to buy that.
Actually, yes. I would like
They're
to get that, too.
super cute.
They are very cute.
But we haven't gotten like hot summer racing weather.
No, not yet.
And so the cold tires, whatever, but that was really scary.
Yeah.
And I know we're race fans and, you know, we love the action and someone doinking and crashing like the Alex Palou adds spiciness to the racing, but we don't want to see that.
We want it in a safe manner, right? That's
exactly
what we're asking for.
So Delara is taking a look at all of that, which will be interesting.
Yep.
But overall, I think the race was okay.
Yeah, it was fine.
It was fine.
Yeah.
I would rate it B minus.
Yeah.
Good. Could be better.
Could be better, but yeah.
All right. Let's take it to Gateway.
Oh no, let's not take it to Gateway.
So technically it's our home race because it's technically in Illinois.
It is. What is it? It's in Madison, Illinois, which is like, so it's on the other side of the Mississippi.
Yep. So basically East St. Louis.
East St. Louis, which was, I remember last year, so this was one of the races that we went to last year. It was a little, just, interesting. I guess it was incredibly hot because it was in the middle of August that we went.
Yep.
So it was just the fan experience, I would say. We'll see what happens at night. I'm sure it's going to be a lot better for the fans to experience that race. But like we were just sitting in the cooling stations and trying to drink lemonade and stay in the shade and stuff like that. It was pretty intense.
We brought reusable water bottles and we wanted to refill our water bottles at the racetrack. And it was basically like a hot ass hose.
Like just sitting on the floor.
Yeah.
Right?
They're like, here's your water.
Like, okay.
The track itself, the racing itself is always incredible. But from a fan experience, I understand if you live in the St. Louis area, it's super close. It's very locally friendly, but I would not go back to that race unless they made it less of a giant asphalt slab.
Right. Yeah.
And giving me more of a fan experience.
Yeah. It just felt like a carnival parking lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have to say we did have garage access and the garages are cool.
Yes.
Because they're in the center. You can see they're kind of like they look like horse stalls and you can see them.
Yeah.
That's cool. But it was 1,700,000 degrees outside. Maybe we were a little cranky because it was hot. Mm-hmm. Our poor friend came for the first time.
That was a bad first race to go to, a bad introduction. So hopefully she'll have a better experience with Road America that we're
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, poor thing.
She is an avid sunblock wearer, and I think she reapplied 47 times.
Yes.
But this is a Penske track. More than anything, it's Joseph Newgarden's track.
Yeah, no kidding. Look at those wins. 2024, 22, 21, 20, 2017.
And then you have Scott Dixon for 2 years and then just willpower.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, Joseph.
Yeah.
He won when we were there last year.
Yes. Which actually, I think we left early.
We did.
We didn't even see that. Dang.
We're such bad fans. We left before all of the amazing willpower, David Malukas, Joseph Newgarden drama because it was getting dark out, and we were too hot. It was just we were three women
exhausted.
who were sweaty. It was getting dark out. We didn't want to walk around a city we didn't know in the dark, so we left.
Yeah.
We watched it from our beautifully air conditioned hotel room.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
But Penske's always do well here. This is definitely a Penske-dominated track. I would not be surprised if Joseph Newgarden wins again. But last year, it was an okay start to the race. We had a little bumps and grinds. We had Connor Daly hitting Romain Grosjean and teammates and spinning around.
I do remember that.
We had Catherine Legg was there, and she unfortunately crashed. Mm-hmm. But after we left is when chaos really ensued.
Yeah.
Oops.
Whatever.
So Joseph Newgarden, he actually spun and didn't hit anything and somehow, some way got to the front of the field. And David Malukas was on a run to potentially win or get on the podium. And technically, this is his home race. It is in Chicago, Illinois, as a Chicago boy. And Will Power hit him and completely took him out of the race. He was devastated.
Oh, yeah. I do remember that, too.
He was crying. He was devastated. Which then, karma, Will, then there was a crash. I don't remember who. And Joseph was leading the field. And basically, Joseph, the screens on the track turned green after the yellow, and Joseph was very slow to start, which caused Rossi to basically yeet himself over Will Power and taking Will off, basically taking him out.
Yeah.
You get traditional Will Power. He then proceeds to hop out of his car, stand in front of, they had to drive through the pit lane, get onto the other side of the pit lane, and just full double birded it towards Joseph Newgarden. We're like, oh,
classic.
Spicy Will.
Classic Spicy Will.
Joseph then goes on and wins the race. And that was it. And you're like, okay. We went from little Dave to Will Power maybe winning it to just Joseph Newgarden being like, nope, this is my track.
Yeah, right.
Home turf. So we'll see. The track has a lot of fun overtaking, but I will be interested to see it as a night race again.
Yeah, it will be interesting. And it's a unique shape compared to like the other ovals, that it's like almost like an egg shape, right? So, and a shorter track, I feel like too, a shorter oval, 1.25 miles. So 260 laps. So yeah, it's very interesting. And I think the drivers really like this, right?
They really like this track. It's really fun to overtake. Last year we did have the hybrid, so this is not going to be another track they've never raced with the hybrid. So I'm assuming it's going to be a fun race. They had a week off after Detroit to kind of decompress, and
much needed.
We love a good night race. Mm-hmm. It starts at 8:00 Eastern, so 7:00 Central for us. And it'll just be, I'm looking forward to hopefully maybe having some fun liveries underneath the lights.
I remember they also have these like cannons, right? Like the oil cannon. What was it?
The flames.
The flames that which was,
Apparently they're going to have more of those.
Oh,
they
nice.
They tweeted they have more boom power.
Very nice. Well, for a night race, you got to give it a little bit more pizzazz, I think.
How hot do you think it is driving through there?
Right? Like you just get that boost of like that burst of heat for a second.
Your eyelashes just burn off.
Yeah, right.
But we do also have an Indy Next race as well. This will be Dennis Hauger's first time on an oval, so we'll see if his dominance continues on an oval. But for my predictions, I have Joseph Newgarden on pole. I think he's had such a horrible year. He's just kind of been there.
Yeah.
I think he's going to get pole. David Malukas has been on a tear lately.
He really has.
The 500 gave him some momentum. I did figure out, and we could talk about this later, I did figure out his Penske contract situation, so we can talk through that in a little bit. But I have him winning the thing.
Okay.
Homeboy, race.
That'd be pretty fun to see.
Yeah. And then I think Colton is a sleeper. I think he'll do well too.
He'll do well too.
As long as they do good pit stops.
Yeah. Yeah. Please, for the love of God, Andretti. But I have on pole, I have Power. I think, he's got the gusto to do this. So, but I do have the winner. I don't know, Rosenquist. Why not?
Ooh,
why not?
Little MSR,
right? Why not? I like him. I think he deserves a little moment.
Yeah.
And then sleeper, probably Christian Lundgaard.
Okay.
See how he does.
All right. It's crazy. No Pato inside.
No. See, I am done. I like he's kind of rubbed me the wrong way for a little bit. So let's.
He has to redeem. Yeah, redeem yourself. If not, redeem yourself at Road America when we're there.
Yes, that'd be fun. That would be a lot of fun to be there when that happens. So
awesome,
cool.
But yeah, a little tea, I guess, about the Penske contract situation. So Will Power's contract is up with Penske at the end of this year, and everyone's been talking about whether or not when David Malukas is going to take that seat. Well, I did not know this, but Marshall Pruitt mentioned it in his last podcast. David is actually signed to Penske.
Interesting.
He is not signed to AJ Foyt. Penske is paying Malukas to have that seat.
Wow.
So think about it literally as like the Racing Bulls seats for Red Bull.
No kidding.
So when everyone's like, when is Penske going to sign him for the big team? He's signed by Penske. So the livery that he ran for the 500, that's a Penske sponsor.
Wow. So he's just sitting in the wings.
He's sitting in the wings. I believe that Will Power will get signed for maybe a year contract with maybe a second year option. And Malukas will stay one more year at Foyt just to continue developing. But I, for the longest time, thought that like Lil Dave is going after Will Power's contract. No. He is part of Penske.
Yeah.
He is just driving for AJ Foyt, and Penske is funding him to drive for AJ.
Wow. It's pretty incredible. So
we'll be seeing a lot of
expect big things from him.
Yeah, homegrown, Chicago boy.
Awesome. I'm excited. The one person that you haven't met yet.
I know. I need to meet you, Lil Dave. As a Chicago Eastern European, I need to meet you.
You have to meet. We have a lot to talk about.
Yes, I have. Let's talk about our traumas. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. Maybe we'll bring you a special something if we see you at Road America.
Maybe.
But I would love to see Lil Dave do well. Yeah. I think his wrist surgery and all of that, and his inability to drive from McLaren, now being like, I got a better contract.
Too bad, so sad, right? I'm okay. I'll be fine.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Gateway's coming up this week, and then we're prepping and planning for our time at Road America as well. So that's a doubleheader going back to back. But thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. If you'd like to stay connected with us, please follow us on social at Lap It Like It's Hot on Instagram, BlueSky, and Threads. We're also available on all of your lovely podcasts on Spotify, Apple, as well as YouTube. And we can't wait to debrief a night race at Gateway, and hopefully we'll forget about our time in 2024 and move on.
Yes.
And as always, if you have any questions or anything for our next episode, feel free to drop it on Instagram. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.